Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2025, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 78 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 and Viksit Bharat at 2047 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions, commemorations and celebrations. Every year on 3rd December is commemorated and celebrated as International Day of Persons with Disabilities. The theme for 2025 is Fostering Disability Inclusive Societies for Advancing Social Progress. Across all regions, persons with disabilities with their households face challenges and barriers in the attainment of social development objectives. They are more likely to live in poverty. They continue to face discrimination in employment, receiving lower wages, and being overrepresented in the informal sector. So, social protection systems are uneven in coverage and inadequate when considering extra disability related costs, frequently excluding persons with disabilities in the informal sector, and many persons with disabilities experiences with care and support systems continue to be marked by the denial of their dignity and autonomy and agency. So the three core themes of social development, that is poverty eradication, promotion of full and productive employment and decent work for all and social integration, are interrelated, mutually reinforcing, and require an enabling environment so as to be achieved simultaneously. This inclusion of persons with disabilities as both agents and beneficiaries of social development is indispensable. Disability inclusion in all aspects of social, economic, cultural, and political life is therefore an imperative. The theme of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities 2025, Fostering Disability Inclusive Societies for Advancing Social Progress, builds on the reaffirmed commitment of world leaders gathered at Second World Summit for Social Development to build a more just, inclusive, equitable, and sustainable world, and their understanding that advancing progress on social development depends on and indeed necessitates the inclusion of all segments of society. So, when launching the United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy in 2019, the Secretary General stated that the United Nations should lead by example and raise the organization's standards and performance on disability inclusion across all pillars of work, from headquarters to the field. The United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy provides the foundation for sustainable development and transformative progress on disability inclusion through all pillars of the work of the United Nations. Through the strategy, the United Nations system reaffirms that the full and complete realization of the human rights of all persons with disabilities is an inalienable, integral, and indivisible part of all human rights and fundamental freedoms. In 2025, the Secretary General submitted his sixth report to the disability inclusion in the UN system, building on 6 years of implementation. This year's system-wide report reflects on the progress made to advance disability inclusion between 2019 to 2024, celebrates key achievements and outlines priorities for accelerating system-wide change. The recommendations lay out the Secretary General's vision for future of UNDIS, setting a higher standard and inspiring transformative system-wide progress on disability inclusion. The commemorative event has taken place virtually yesterday in the United Nations headquarters in New York, bringing together member states. Today, 4th December is commemorated as International Day of Banks. The principles for responsible banking. The principles provide the framework for a sustainable banking system and help the industry to demonstrate how it makes a positive contribution to society. They embed sustainability at the strategic portfolio and transaction levels and across all business areas. In this year, since the launch of Framework, the signatories to the principle for responsible banking grew from 130 to more than 190 banks, representing more than a third of global banking industry and around 1.6 billion customers worldwide. To celebrate the first anniversary of the launch of Principles for Reasonable Banking, signatories, civil society has shared the thoughts and experience. 1 year on, there are certain risks of sustainable development. World economic growth remains steady at around 3%, but has likely peaked. More than $500 billion worth of goods are subject to trade restrictions, 7 times more than in the previous reporting period. Debt risks are rising. A number of countries, including around 30 least developed and other vulnerable countries, are either already in or at high risk of debt distress, hampering their ability to invest in the sustainable development goals. Several countries have experienced significant capital outflows with aggregate net outflows of over $200 billion from developing countries expected for 2018. Inequality has risen in countries home to most people in the world, and the global growth in real wages is only 1.8%, the lowest since 2008. Climate change continues apace with greenhouse emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions having increased by 1.3% in 2017, with dire consequences for communities worldwide. So, reforms of the global financial architecture, the crisis affecting the multilateral trading system, is also an opportunity to revamp it and make it fit for sustainable development. Challenges in sovereign debt restructuring have sensitized international community to gaps in existing architecture. Increasing vulnerabilities have understood the importance of strengthening the global financial safety net. The digitization of the economy has fueled the debate about the design of the international tax system. Growing market concentration has underscored the need to better monitor the trend and manage its socio-economic implications. So banks are powering a livable planet. So this year's observance of the International Day of Banks highlights the essential role of multilateral development banks, international development banks, and domestic banking systems in advancing sustainable development, supporting climate action, and improving standards of living. The 2025 theme draws its rationale from the three interconnected imperatives: financing a livable planet, closing the SDG financing gap, and strengthening resilient and inclusive finance. Banks are central to aligning financial workflows with global climate commitments, addressing structural financial shortfalls that hinder progress in developing countries, and expanding access to affordable, responsible financial services for vulnerable communities. By integrating environmental risks, supporting long term investment, and promoting inclusive digital finance, banking institutions can help reshape development pathways and uphold the promise of the 2030 Agenda. The overall objective of this year's observation is to spotlight and reinforce transformative role of banks in enabling the sustainable development. The United Nations calls on government, international financial institutions, regulators, commercial banks, and the civil society to work together to scale up long-term SDG aligned financing and strengthen financial systems that work for both people and planet. Through global and national dialogues, knowledge sharing, and inclusive partnerships, the 2025 observance aims to galvanize concrete action that empowers banking systems to drive sustainable, resilient, and inclusive development worldwide. So, the key messages are: banks are development actors. Banks at all levels are not only intermediaries of capital, they are also central to shaping development pathways and must align their business models with SDGs and climate objectives. Closing the SDG financing gap is possible with coherent policies, risk sharing instruments, and strong partnerships. Bank can mobilize and channel finance at scale for sustainable development and just a green transition. Resilience and inclusion go hand in hand. Financial systems are more stable and resilient when they are inclusive, diverse, and anchored in the real economy with safeguards for people and planet. Digitalization is a powerful enabler. Digital financial services can be a powerful driver of inclusion and efficiency, provided that risks to stability, integrity, data protection, and consumer rights are effectively managed. Global solidarity is essential. International financial institutions, advancing economies, and global capital markets have a responsibility to support developing countries in a securing affordable long-term finance of sustainable development. On 19 December 2019, the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 74 by 245, which designated 4 December as International Day of Banks in recognition of the significant potential of multilateral development. Banks and other international development banks in financing sustainable development and providing know-how, and also in recognition of the vital role of the banking systems in member states in contributing to the improvement of the standard of living. In September 2015, the General Assembly adopted the comprehensive, far-reaching, and people-centered set of universal transformative sustainable development goals, reaffirming its commitment to fully implementing theme by 2030. So, eradicating poverty in all its forms remains the greatest global challenge and a prerequisite for sustainable development. The SDGs aim for balanced economic, social, and environmental progress, building on the Millennium Development Goals and addressing unfinished gaps. So, globalization and technological change have contributed to reducing extreme poverty at the global level, but uneven distribution of the benefits has left many behind and has undermined support for the global architecture. The global economy faces rising risks from geopolitical tensions and trade disputes to climate impacts, all of which threaten growth, stability, and the SDGs. Systemic weakness, volatile capital flows, global imbalances, unsustainable debt, rising corporate concentration, and wage compression exacerbate vulnerabilities Rapid technologies change can both help and heighten systematic risks. The Addis Ababa Action Agenda emphasized nationally owned sustainable development strategies supported by integrating and integrated financing networks and frameworks. Although many countries have renewed their strategies in response to SDGs, most lack concrete financing plans. Improving coherence and inclusivity in global economic governance remains essential. So, shifts in the international monetary system may further increase volatility, underscoring the need for stronger international cooperation and an adequately resourced global financial safety net. Currently, currency risk is often home. Uh, Currency risk is often borne by developing countries least able to manage it. So, policy coherence across financial, social, and environmental spheres is crucial while the impact of financial regulation on sustainable investments is increasingly understood. The effects of social environmental risks on creditworthiness are less clear. Regulations and sustainability measures must align to create a financial system that supports long term development. National development banks can play a vital role in financing SDG related investments, especially in sectors underserved by commercial banks. When aligned with SDGs and integrated financing frameworks, and when collaborating with multilateral banks, they can expand sustainable infrastructure, energy, agriculture, innovation, and MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprises, financing, and act countercyclically during crisis. So they should be supported to scale these contributions. So financing policies, however, must adapt to rapidly changing the global landscape to address rising inequality, including gender inequality. Countries must update labor, social protection, fiscal competition, trade, and financial policies to match new economic realities such as digitization, shifting wage share, and growing vulnerabilities. Today is also commemorated as International Day Against Unilateral Coercive Measures on 4th December every year. The theme for this year is Unilateral Coercive Measures and Human Rights. According to the UN Human Rights Office, OHCHR in short, the term unilateral coercive measures usually refers to economic measures taken by one state to compel a change in the policy of another state. Examples of such measures include trade sanctions in the form of embargoes and the interruption of financial investment flows between sender and target countries. More recently, so-called smart or targeted sanctions such as asset freezing and travel bans have been employed by individual states in order to influence persons who are perceived to have political influence in another state, as per Human Rights Council Resolution 19 by 33. So, unilateral coercive measures and legislation are contrary to the international law, including international human rights law and international humanitarian law, the Charter of the United Nations, and the norms and principles governing peaceful relationships among the states, such as the Declaration of Principles of International Law concerns friendly relations and cooperation among states. Moreover, such measures can impact the full enjoyment of human rights set forth in Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In particular, the rights of everyone to a student of living adequate for their health and well-being, including food and medical care, housing, and necessary social services. In June 2025, the General Assembly proclaimed 4th December as the International Day Against Unilateral Coercive Measures as part of the global efforts to raise awareness about the negative impact of unilateral coercive measures not in accordance with the international law and the Charter of the United Nations. It emphasized the need to promote dialogue, mutual respect, understanding, tolerance, and multilateralism as a cornerstone of international relations and diplomacy. The establishment of the International Day complements ongoing efforts aimed at raising global awareness of the adverse effects of unilateral coercive measures, not in accordance with international law and the Charter of the United Nations, and promote greater international cooperation and solidarity among nations in addressing the consequences of such measures. So the resolution urges states once again to refrain from adopting, from promulgating, and applying an unilateral economic, financial, or trade measures not in accordance with international law and the Charter of United Nations that impede or in any other manner undermine the full achievement of economic and social development, particularly in developing countries. Today is also commemorated as World Wildlife Conservation Day on December 4th every year. So we are excited to spread awareness about preserving its endangered flora and fauna. Nature's most magnificent creatures are becoming endangered and being pushed to the brink of extinction by the greed of some humans and is causing irreparable harm to the wildlife ecosystem. World Wildlife Conservation Day is an occasion to be aware, reflect, and take action when it comes to issues that are threatening the planet's wildlife biodiversity balance, driven by the demand for illegal animal parts and products on the black market. Humans have the hunting, poaching, and slaughtering several wildlife species to the brink of extinction. Human interface in the world's natural ecosystem has been ongoing for centuries in the modern world. As humans traveled and settled in different parts of the world, they cleared land for farming, cut forests for shipbuilding, and began hunting and trapping for money. Over the years, wildlife hunting and poaching became more common, and wildlife populations started to decline across the globe. On November 8, 2012, Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of the State at that time, put out a call to action to raise awareness and engage conservationists and wildlife enthusiasts about Wildlife Conservation Day. She also outlined the White House strategy to address the global problem of wildlife trafficking. Unfortunately, even today, the illegal trade of endangered species on black market is rising. Although governments across the world are trying their best and in some cases succeeding to stop this act, not all species are safe from poachers and hunters. This not only affects the wildlife but also lives of millions of people who live within or close to forested areas in different parts of the world. So it's time we act and work together to preserve and protect wildlife to ensure survival. The greatest and noblest thing you can do is to educate those around you, spread awareness about the importance of wildlife conservation to your friends and family. Take the wildlife pledge, join millions of others individuals in protecting our planet's most endangered species, acting against illegal poaching or anything that negatively impacts the wildlife. You can make a charitable donations through the World Wildlife Fund, WWF. All of the donations you make directly go towards training and equipping wildlife protectors. As of now, there are more than 41,415 species on the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List, and 16,306 of them are extremely endangered species. Javan rhinos are the most critically endangered species, only 67 of them remain. In the last 500 years, human activity has forced 869 known species to extinction. Indonesia, China, and India are among the top countries with the most threatened mammals and bird species on top list in Asia. In a shocking survey, it was found that the wildlife population size dropped by 68% between 1970 and 2018. So World Wildlife Conservation Day is not just a day to learn about wildlife and endangered species. It is a day in which we actually make a difference by protecting, preserving our wildlife. The love for nature and wildlife is something that most people have in common. By spreading awareness and doing your part to preserve wildlife, you can meet a lot of people who share the same interest as you. Although mankind is responsible for the endangerment and extinction of several species, the fact that good hearted humans can work together to protect our wildlife is a lesson that everyone needs to learn. Today is the day to do so. Today is also commemorated as International Cheetah Day, which is celebrated and commemorated on December 4th. We are getting ready to celebrate Mother Nature's breathtaking built for speed missions, cheetahs. Cheetahs are incredible, fast, and absolutely gorgeous beasts. Cheetahs are the most endangering big cats in Africa. This day is a reminder that we should honor and preserve these magnificent animals. The story of how International Cheetah Day was born is worthy of a movie adaptation. It all started in 1977 when American zoologist Dr. Laurie Marker took Kayam, a cheetah she raised from a Kabet wildlife safari in Orion to Namibia. It was part of an experiment to determine whether captive cheetahs could be taught to be hunt and live, taught to hunt and live in the world on their own. The experiment was a success, and she and Kayam returned home to the US. But during her stay in Namibia, Dr. Marker noted that livestock owners posed a threat to the cheetah population in the wild. They were eliminating cheetahs vigorously because they were becoming a threat to their livestock. Determined to help resolve the rift between Namibian farmers and cheetahs, Dr. Marker vowed to preserve the wild cheetahs and founded the Cheetah Conservation Fund in 1991. She negotiated with locals and educated them about wildlife preservation. In honor of his memory, Dr. Marker chose Kayam's birthday as a day to promote cheetah conservation. Since 2010, the world has been celebrating International Cheetah Day on December 4th to raise awareness about the threat of extinction that they face. Sadly, due to excessive hunting of wild cheetahs for their fur and the loss of their habitat due to increased human settlements, as of 2020, there are only around 7,000 cheetahs left in the wild. This is a shocking 50% decline in the last 4 decades. So let us all encourage this day as a day to respect and conserve cheetahs. So the cheetahs are fastest animals on land and can reach up to 70 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. So what better way to celebrate International Cheetah Day than honoring its cause? Donate to the Cheetah Conservation Fund to support its initiatives and do your part. Tell your family and friends about the cheetah, as well as other wildlife, and why it is important to preserve them before it's too late. Educate them about the dangers of cheetah extinction. This is an ultimate way to appreciate the beauty of these creatures. So visit a wildlife conservation or fly to a country where you could see a wild cheetah in action. So unlike the most misconception that all big cats roar, cheetahs actually meow and purr. Cheetahs are born with distinctive tear mark lines that run from the corners of their eyes down to their mouth to help them protect their eyes from the sun's glare. The spots on the cheetah fur aren't just fur deep, they are skin deep. Their skins have black spots. Cheetahs are usually solitary animals, but they often stick up for their siblings and cubs. They are both introverts and extroverts. Cheetahs only need to drink water every 3 or 4 days, and they don't drink often. So, cheetahs are one of the nature's most awesome creations. They are sleek, slender, and surprisingly calm creatures. International Cheetah Day is not just a day where we can remember these creatures, it's also a meaningful day that we can raise awareness and among people about the increasing threat to wild cheetah population. So the astonishing efforts of Dr. Marker when she founded the Cheetah Conservation Fund is a lesson to us. It teaches us that we can be the change. If humans can come together, they can achieve anything. So let's make a change together. Today is also commemorated as Global Fat Bike Day that takes place on first Saturday of December, usually since 2012. This year it falls on It's a special day for fat bike enthusiasts who celebrate it the best way to know how, riding on their fat bikes. The day falls on Saturday mostly since it's a popular day for riding and allowing people to go on longer rides, but this isn't set in stone. You can choose the ride on Friday or even Sunday depending on your commitments. You and your fat bike have the entire weekend. All this day asks of you is to find a time to ride. A fat bike is a bicycle that has oversized tires. The bikes are designed specially for off road riding, particularly on terrain such as sand or snow. Fat bikes are heavier than the standard mountain or road bike. Pedaling fat bikes on asphalt can be difficult due to their weight. Compared to regular bicycles, fat bikes can travel effortlessly over rough terrain. Their wide tires have lower pressure and come with an additional grip and traction. Join a fat bike event near you or look for events online, connecting with the larger biking community, even virtually. Make the day extra special. Remember to take a photo of your ride and put it on the mountain bike reviews forum. Document your idea or ride on video. Fat bike riding is challenging sport. Today is also commemorated as Extraordinary Work Team Recognition Day on December 4th each year. If you are a member of a work group, tasks are sometimes easier to complete when teams are created and people with different skills collaborate rather than working alone. Extraordinary Work Team Recognition Day honors It was established that internal and external social demands affect a worker's performance, and that informal groups within the workplace influence the workers' habits and attitudes. Workers also read characteristics like being valued for their efforts, feeling relaxed, and having a feeling of connectedness as more important than physical working conditions. These included studies aimed at delving deeper into what happened to the group workers under different circumstances. One of the earliest researchers, Elton Mayo, highlighted important characteristics for forming a successful work. It was established that internal and external demands, social demands, affect a worker's performance, and the informal groups within the workplace influence of workers' habits and attitudes. Workers also regarded characteristics like being valued for their efforts, feeling relaxed, and having a feeling of connectedness as more important than physical working conditions. These findings promoted business to carefully consider organizing their personnel into productive work teams. These remain It is a perfect time to recognize the value of collaborating if your business relies on the combined efforts of employees who identify a common objective and put their energy, excitement, and motivating talents to work. Take some time to think about your accomplishments as a member of a work group. Gather your team member and acknowledge them. Achievements of individual members as well as team's overall accomplishment. Today is also commemorated as National Dice Day by rolling dice and playing with dice, which are popular all over the world and are available in many colors, shapes, materials, and forms, from Monopoly to snakes and ladders. Any favorite role playing game? The ancient gaming tool is an integral part of many games. Dice are a famous gaming tool that has been used for gambling and gaming since the age of kings and conquerors. Whether you like role playing games, strategy games, or simple board games, there is a dice game out there for everyone. Today, almost all of us have some amazing childhood memories associated with the dice games. The origin of dice and the National Dice Day is still uncertain. However, dice can be and have been found throughout the world. In fact, dice have a long tradition. The most common die is a cube with six sides having 1 to 6 dots on each side. Today, there are hundreds of games that exist around the world that incorporate dice as a way to add random challenges or obstacles to the objectives. Even without a board or a game setup, playing with dice can be entertaining. Today is also commemorated as National Sock Day in US. Celebrated on December 4th is a day to celebrate those rest of socks that managed to stick together, and maybe a mourn that socks that has lost their significant others in the war over the years. Whether you are a fan of knee-high, crew, ankle or low-cut socks, or even the ones sporting tiny holes, the history and significance of National Socks Day will make you love your socks even. There is also commemorated as Tree Dressing Day in UK, which is annually celebrated on the first weekend in December. It celebrates the importance of trees and encourages us to value and care for them. Tree Dressing Day was initiated by Common Ground, a UK-based charity based in Dorset that has been in forefront of community conservation and environmental education in England for over 30 years. So Tree Dressing Day was initiated by Common Ground in 1990 to serve the day. We show our love for trees and reflect on the important role they have played since beginning of time. So trees improve the quality of our air, they brighten up and enhance our environment and provide shade from the hot sun. The presence of trees alone is enough to reduce our stress and improve our sense of well-being. The day is a chance for everyone to gather and celebrate the leafy friends we have all in common. It's also a time to reflect on the role trees have played in shaping the social and cultural history of our communities. Tree dressing is celebrated in different cultures around the world, from Scotland to Japan to England. It's a tradition that brings us closer to trees and highlight the crucial place they have in our lives in society as we work towards appreciating them fully. One of the customs of tree dressing day, aside from dressing them in ribbons, notes, clothes, lanterns, and more, is to find a tree or a group of trees that are important to a community to embrace. The day also serves as a way to research tree dressing in other cultures for inspiration and understand why their existence is so crucial to us and our planet. It is also commemorated as Wear Brown Shoes Day in US to celebrate and honor and most importantly wear brown shoes. Things have changed from brown shoes are viewed as symbol of elegance and beauty. Moreover, people worldwide are rocking this style and with brown shoes pairing them with every outfit at any time of the day. We have grown accustomed to the color brown and it feels healthy and natural to us. Today, most people assume that people who wear brown shoes, especially brown leather shoes, are confident and reliable, and we have alternative to leather, so it is environmental friendly. Additionally, they go great with absolutely any item or color or clothing. So step out in your brown shoes and make your statement. Today is also commemorated as Choose Women Wednesday in US, celebrated every year on Wednesday after Thanksgiving. So this year it will be held. The day seeks to appreciate, support, listen to, and stand up for women. It is also attempts to create awareness about the many women working for successfully running business in a world that still thinks a woman's place is at home. The day is celebrated in hopes countering these old notions and instead of making people realize the potential and the power women hold. The day education both customers and business on making the right choice and uplifting female entrepreneurs and promoting women-owned business. So Choose Women Wednesday is an international platform established in 2014 by Women's Entrepreneurship Day, organization non-governmental movement that seeks to empower, celebrate, the support women in business to reduce poverty around the world. It takes place on the Wednesday after Thanksgiving as its creation was inspired by days devoted to shopping and giving like Small Business Saturday and Giving Tuesday. Choose Women Wednesday initially began as Women on Wednesday has gone by a few names including Women on Wednesday, Wednesday until it was finally changed to Choose Women Wednesday in 2016. Research has shown that the average female entrepreneur gets less than half of the funding of their male counterpart. This is why it is important to encourage movements like these that get people involved in listening to, supporting, and standing up for women for all walks of life for the betterment of everyone. It's not just time to close the gender gaps, but it's also the time to shatter the glass ceiling and tell the people everywhere that the age of favoring men is over and it's time to look beyond the patriarchy and choose women. Today is also commemorated as Chester Greenwood Earmuff Day in US, which falls on first Saturday of December each year. So there's a day for that every year. The town of Farmington in Maine celebrates its famous resident. Greenwood first designed the earmuff when he was 50. Came up with this idea so that ears wouldn't catch frostbite while ice taking. With a little help from his grandmother, the first ear muffs were born and tufts of fur swung between loops of wire, and the rest is history. Today is also commemorated as National Human Rights Conscious Week from December 4th to 10th in Philippines every year. So this day assesses the human rights situation countrywide from achievements to obstacles that citizens might tackle in future. During this time, citizens are encouraged to be informed of their rights and do their best to secure them and to fight for the rights of fellow Filipinos through simple ceremonies and activities. The people learn their fundamental human rights regarding services and functions offered by private and public institutions. So National Human Rights Conscious Week was introduced by Republic Act number 9201 on April 1st, 2003. The Philippines government declared that public and private institutions would participate in this day, propagating a culture of human rights to assist in peace building and national unity. The government created a national committee to chair the Commission on Human Rights to achieve these goals. The committee had representatives from several quarters, the Federal Police and Departments of Justice, Education, National Defense, Foreign Affairs, and the Interior and Local Government. The Departments of Social Welfare and Development and Labor and Employment made up the rest of the committee representatives. A multi-agency approach ensured inclusivity and full cooperation in public-private partnerships between government agencies, individuals, and human rights organizations. The Commission on Human Rights, formed after the atrocities committed during the martial law, had a wealth of experience advocating for human rights. The government of the 1987 Philippine Constitution created this independent commission under the Article 13 on social justice and human rights. Their role was to investigate human rights violation on civil and political levels. The Commission on Human Rights would also promote and protect the rights and dignity of every person in the Philippines. Article 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, also known as the Bill of Rights, enshrines the rights of Filipinos. The bill comprises 22 sections declaring a citizen's rights and privileges protected by the Constitution. The Philippines is a signatory of the UN Bill of Rights. This document guides as their laws on human rights and obliges the government to recognize and enforce the appropriate rules to support this process. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations, and we thank each and everyone for joining us in today's celebrations and commemorations. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form that has been raised in the form of votes before leaving the platform. So see you all tomorrow at the same time with the same joining link with different commemorations and celebrations. Take care. Good night.